You're on the party line with Sarah and Christy. This is I'm on the Phone podcast, where we're healing out loud, sharing culty stories, and laughing at the mess along the way. So grab a coffee, a bestie, settle in, and let's talk. So I guess I wanted just to kind of like go through it the same way that we went through our last series. Which I felt, I don't know, do you have any opinions now that we're through that? Like where has that left you?
I mean, I think it was good to go through and to sort of, because there was definitely some things that came up that I had never thought about before on my own.
Yeah.
So it was good to go through it and process what that brought up, but it hasn't affected me necessarily further.
Well, maybe not I don't necessarily mean trigger. Like for me, it just brought like a new awareness of where I am and where I'm trying to go. I think that's probably the biggest thing, because whatever you're not aware of, there's no growth there.
Right. Yeah.
And just assessing if you even do, or when things happen, maybe those questions will come to your mind, like, am I slipping back?
Right.
To my old ways. Yeah. And that can happen from time to time, because we're creatures of habit.
Absolutely.
Creating new patterns here.
Yeah.
I guess I wanted to just kind of start it off before we start asking questions by really giving a good definition of what purity culture is, because so many people get confused about what that is. So I have something written down here to try to sum it up.
Okay.
Purity culture is a religious framework that ties moral worth to sexual behavior, and modesty enforces rigid gender roles and uses shame and fear to control bodies. In doing so, it often creates environments where abuse is minimized, victims are silenced, and perpetrators are protected. Purity culture doesn't just regulate, I can't talk today. Purity culture doesn't just regulate sexuality. It redistributes power. And when power is imbalanced, abuse survives or thrives. It also perpetuates rape culture.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, and actually by not endorsing rape, but what it does is it teaches girls that they're responsible for male desire, and then they frame modesty as a prevention method to keep from being raped. It centers male stumbling, air quotes, fully there, over female safety. It encourages silence to protect reputations and not victims. It prioritizes forgiveness over accountability and teaches wives that sex is a duty. And it confuses coercion with submission. So it's like a culture that says boys will struggle. Don't cause your brother to stumble. Marriage means access. All of these comments make me want to throw up. So it quietly erodes consent. There's a complete loss of autonomy and consent. And I mean, that's how rape culture grows. Yes. In addition to all this, it does enable grooming and pedophilia. Again, it's systemic. It's not sensational. It creates an automatic trust in male spiritual authority, discouragement of questioning leaders, infantilization of girls while sexualizing them at the same time, obedience framed as godliness, emphasis on protecting ministry reputations. And when children are taught that authority is sacred, doubt is rebellion, your body belongs to God or your future husband, or both. Predators thrive in that kind of fog, not because purity culture preaches abuse, but because it builds structures that protect power. So I do want to like make clear that we are not saying that everyone inside purity culture is abusive. We're saying that the structure often shields abuse and silences victims. So just want to like say that all up front. I know it was a lot. So if you have questions, you're welcome to throw some out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, even though you're not saying that everybody within purity culture is abusive, more particularly the men, still the ones who have that mindset that this is the way it's supposed to be, even though it was conditioned by the purity culture, it's still abusive, right? I mean,
yeah, it is an
that's
abuse
an
culture.
abusive way of thinking.
Yes.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, actually, and I can't remember. It was like, it felt, we were talking about men in a blanket, you know, like just as a blanket statement. And I said, I made the statement, they weren't created this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like men weren't created with this mindset of misogyny and and the purity culture and the I need to be idolized and all of this stuff. They were conditioned this way.
Yeah.
They weren't created this way. And that's where there's such a shift in, like, they believe that they were created this way because they were told they were created this way, and none of their impulses can be controlled or should be learned. You know, they have no responsibility to their control, to their own control. They put all of that on women. And that is a conditioning. That is not the way they were created. But they're told that this is how they're created. It was interesting to me, just like in making that statement, I realized, wait, that this is where they get it completely wrong. Like they weren't created this way. They were not created, sorry, but they weren't created to be assholes. They were created, we were created, and then they were conditioned and pretty much against us. Like we are servants to them. That is not the way it was supposed to be. Anyway, moving on. No, that's not what we were going to talk about, but
anyways, I just wanted to get that out there as like so people know where we're at, so we have some context for the conversation. Because a lot of people don't understand what purity culture is, and like you and I kind of grew up in the height of purity culture. Like I remember when the book I Kiss Dating Goodbye came out with, is it Josh Harris?
yes.
And I read it, like I got it and read it. I did always think that it was a bit odd and
Slightly.
sorry, I have a mint in my mouth.
I remember reading
So
it, and it was the courting, right? He went to like the courting, the whole courting you know, and he got a lot of publicity for that and became quite famous in that culture pretty quick.
Did you know that he has apologized and stopped the publishment of his book?
No.
He's like an atheist now.
Are you serious?
Yeah. You should look it up. It's very interesting. Like,
oh, I did not know that.
He is like one of the authors who has like recanted his works and apologized. And also like him and his wife like got a divorce.
I knew he got a
Very
divorce.
interesting. He's like one of the few that I actually still respect of the authors of that era.
Oh, I'm gonna look that up because I knew that him and his wife got a divorce. I heard
Mhm.
that, but I didn't know like what happened that he did apologized. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, he made a very, very public statement. It's on his, well, if you just search it, but I think he originally posted it on his Instagram. But anyways, yes, go look that up. It's very interesting. He's the
Oh
only
wow.
author of several books that have been proven to be highly, highly toxic and dangerous to marriages and people in relationships that claim to be Christian.
Uh-huh.
Um, that has actually said, hey, I was wrong and I'm no longer allowing these to be published any further.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, he can't collect all the books in the world, but he's not
No,
allowing
but
them to be printed anymore.
yeah,
So, yeah, I remember that. And I remember a lot of people
interesting.
kind of starting that ideal around that time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Eh,
I remember on the Focus on the Family, there was like a podcast or a radio broadcast, and it was a man who I think he was a preacher, and he had like a daughter and maybe two sons or something like that. And he was talking about the relationship that he had with his sons versus the relationship that he had with his daughter. And it was sort of not necessarily centered on the
not
story.
James Dobson, is it?
No, it wasn't. This guy was a black preacher. Like I can't,
Oh,
he was being interviewed.
is it Vadi
And
Bachchan?
I'm not sure. I can't even remember the name,
Okay.
but it was so gross. Like I remember sitting and listening to it, and even then thinking, I don't, I don't think that's quite right. Like this guy was talking about like the difference in between how he would approach dating with his sons versus how he would approach dating with his daughter, and I'm just like, that is absolutely none of your business. Why would he be anyway? This book, and his daughter was like 18 or 19, you
Ew.
know, and this book was mentioned in, I Kissed Dating Goodbye. The whole thing was mentioned. That was a really long time ago. That was before I even had kids that I listened to that. But this book was mentioned in that whole interview, and this preacher was just like 100%, on board with this whole courting idea, and
Oh, I
it
kind of
was
want to
just
know what it is, but I don't.
gross. I know. I don't even know if I could find it now. I mean,
I'll
I'm
have to
sure it's in
see.
the archive somewhere, but
Just see.
anyway, yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we can go ahead and start with just kind of like the core questions or our anchor questions to get the series started. Let me see. I'm so sorry. My throat is really just ugh today. I think my allergies are acting up again. Um, so I guess our first question is, what did purity culture actually promise us? Do you remember this at all? Do we,
What did it promise us? Was this like in a handbook?
well, some of it was, yes, some of it was kind of like those unspoken rule kind of thing or unspoken like if you do this then, it was like an undertone.
Well, it was like safety and security. Well, I would have to think about that one a little bit. I guess for me, I don't remember like one thing that it really promised, like they understood, but it was like the right way, and it promised um, that God would be happy with you. Like I don't really know how to explain. Like,
Like some prosperity gospel.
huh?
Like some prosperity gospel
Yeah, yeah.
a
It
little
was
bit.
sort of like you would get you would get the best relationship with your husband. Um, if you saved yourself for marriage,
Yes.
that the problems that you and your husband would have would be minimal because you saved yourself for marriage. There would be less jealousy. There would be, um, there would be like more security. I don't know. There was a lot of that narrative, and
Yeah.
I went to several like teen sermons services, where they had the lock in at the end of the service and all of that stuff. And they talked about saving yourself for marriage. Like that was the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. All those things are absolutely true. It was like they said, if you kept yourself a virgin when you got married, then you would have the most amazing sex ever.
Yes.
Um, and also, if you gave your husband enough sex that he would never cheat on you,
Mm-hmm.
and that trying to remember what else. There was a lot of I mean, essentially, it was like if you did this, your life would be smooth sailing. Like you would be God's favored and you would be blessed, and bad things wouldn't happen to you. Um, like in,
Yeah.
in a variety of ways. Like it's just not going to happen to you because you saved yourself, you kept yourself
Mm-hmm.
pure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's just not true.
Mm-mm.
Like,
Nope. Nope.
just not true. Like there's no, it's
There's no
very much
guarantee. There's
it's it's very much like, I'm sorry, but this is where I feel like it's very witchcrafty to say that if you do X, Y, and Z, then you have some sort of like shield spell over you that protects you.
Yeah. And the thing, it's so crazy how much they do not realize how much they mimic the same type of, it might not be the same rules and regulations and all of this stuff, but they mimic the same ideas around that kind of like witchcraft and cult type. I mean, even like other religions that they think are so culty and that they think are so wrong,
Uh-huh.
they do the same exact patterns of things. It's so dumb. I mean, I started looking into, in fact, me and my oldest daughter started looking into other religions, and she was just like, there's no difference between, it's just a difference of belief. Like what you put your faith in, what you put your trust in is different, but the patterns are exactly the same. It is
And what do they
crazy.
do? Like who do they benefit?
The men.
The men.
Absolutely. And that's another thing. Like when you were in when we were in those services, I know you went to several probably too.
Oh, goodness.
You felt like you were being singled out. It was the girls, the ones
Always
that
the
felt like they
girls.
were being singled out. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily always said, but it was mostly said. Um, there was one particular time I remember the preacher literally saying, "Girls, listen," and like naming these. He never said, "Boys, listen," never. And there were several times that I mean, of course, you would find out that a girl, lost her virginity or slept with a guy or whatever, and that was like the unpardonable sin on campus. But if a guy did it, rarely did you ever hear about it. And if you did hear about it, it was glossed over. It was not, he was redeemable.
Yeah.
But a girl, no, not necessarily. No,
No.
not at
No,
all.
the implications for girls and women It's weird to me. I'm trying to change my vernacular around when when it is a girl versus when it's a woman, because that is a term that has been hijacked to minimize pedophilia.
Yep. Oh,
When we were in college, we were women. We were not girls. Like I was telling my daughter and her friend the other day because they had been sharing something with me that one of their friends was going through, and like I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
yeah.
Um, but oh, and even her friend had gotten grounded for something, and it was silly, right? And the punishment did not fit the crime, if it even was a crime. Like, I don't, in my opinion, it wasn't, and whatever.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I was like, do you want to know? Like, your dad and I got grounded by the college. I'm like, you want to know what we did? I don't know, I've told this on here before, but like, we got grounded for going to Steak and Shake without permission, even though we were dating, even though I had just dropped off the school van and we took, like, I think his car instead of the school
Yeah.
van. We had not had a chance to eat. It was the middle of a big event. Like, it was kind of like we're starving. We haven't ate since noon and it's like 10 o'clock at night. And
Yeah.
we were trying to be responsible. And we are like 23 and 24 years old at the time.
Yeah.
So we're not like little children sneaking out behind mommy and daddy's back out the window to go grab a bite I mean, like, to go get
Yeah.
something to eat,
Yeah.
you know? I'm
Yeah.
like, we're just trying to eat. We're starving.
Right. Absolutely.
And like an institution does not have any say over my body anyways.
Right.
That is not they are not entitled to control my body.
Uh,
Period.
right. Well, and oh my goodness. I remember getting in trouble for on campus, college student. I was 24,
Mm-hmm.
25. I might have been 25. I can't remember. Um, my boyfriend was, no, I was 26. My boyfriend was 23. I was 26 because I got married when I was 27 and he was 23. And I got in trouble for allowing him to drive my car. My car that was in my name and I was paying insurance on it. I got in trouble because he drove my car. And that was
What?
apparently, yeah, that was apparently one of the rules was that we were not allowed to let other individuals drive our car. I never saw that rule. Never. And then
Why would that be a rule?
exactly. I don't know. I still to this day do not know why it was a rule. I never saw the rule. I wonder if it even was a rule. It makes me wonder if they were just looking for reasons to get us in trouble for whatever. I don't know that we were necessarily targeted, but just the level of control
An
that
entitlement.
and entitlement. And I remember sitting in that meeting because we were both called to that meeting to come in and have a discussion with the dean of students, who was so stupid. I couldn't stand him.
I,
And he got me in trouble for, he was just like, I was told that your boyfriend was seen driving away in your car yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And he proceeded to get us in trouble. And I, rightfully so, got mad, like sitting in the meeting. And my
yeah.
boyfriend was like, why are you so upset? Like, I started shaming me. He was just like, it's a rule. We needed to follow it. Like, I didn't know it was a rule and it shouldn't be a rule. Like
Right.
I was already having issues with the level of entitlement. Dating on campus is like the worst possible thing. I would not wish it on anyone. But yeah. So it's just like that whole, there should not be a curfew for 20-some-year-old
If you're in college, there's no curfew.
adults. The dorm
You're an
should
adult.
not be closed. And
Like they can have like a key card system so that people can come and go for safety as they please, so that the doors are locked. But there should be no curfew. There should be no policing of each other's bodies. The only thing you should be doing is keeping people safe from, predators.
yeah, you can't
That's
even,
it.
you should not even be like, okay, if you have to say are you a Christian and all that, that shouldn't even be their business. The person who's coming to their school is a Christian or not. Like, that shouldn't even
That even should be a question.
asked. That shouldn't be a question. Not at a college,
None of your business.
a public college. I don't know, it's private, but if someone is paying to be there, I mean,
Like the only thing they should base it on is their academic achievements.
yeah,
Like if they want to come to a Bible college and they're
maybe their
academically
criminal
sound,
background.
then yeah, they pass a background check or whatever. Come, like they know you're a Bible college. If they want to come learn the Bible, let them come learn the Bible. Like who cares
Absolutely.
whether or not they're saved? Who cares whether or not they dress like you? But like kind of moving on to follow up because it's so weird. Like we saw all this purity culture stuff. Like for me, like especially as a teenager in Sunday schools when it really kind of blew up and I was hyper aware of it, right?
Mhm.
Because they started teaching that true love waits thing in my Sunday school because I was in the teen school or teen class, and it was it it was it was so cringy.
I am so
True love mates, and it was like a long
I remember that.
series.
Yeah.
And like that's the one where for us at the end we made that like pledge of our virginity, of our purity in front of the whole church and like signed a little card or something. And I'm just like, I was embarrassed because like, what do you think people are thinking about when you're making those kind of statements and pledges? Like,
it is embarrassing because if I would have done that, my mom would have probably looked at me like I had two heads or something. Like she was not into that kind of stuff, like me promising anything. I mean, that was one of the places that she like had it right.
yeah.
It was just like none of her business who I decided to, if anything, she would caution me on like, not having sex before marriage. But as far as like, and she didn't even really push that,
Yeah.
But as far as like just being all up in my business and me making a promise to her, it wasn't her I needed to make a promise to. You know what I'm saying? Like it was about me. It was about me. It was not about anybody else. That was my decisions. Anyway, yes, please continue.
Well, I mean, I feel like doing those types of ceremonies, what have you, and putting young men and like teen girls and boys in front of a public audience. Again, it's like telling people not to think about a pink elephant. When you're standing up there like these and statistically, I mean, teen girls and boys are where it's at. That's like who these people like abuse. And like there's a lot of shit that happens when you're a teen. And a lot of times the first time that you get sexualized, you're I know I was younger than 13.
Yeah.
So like as a teen, you're being sexualized constantly by much older men. Not to mention, like your peers or even just slightly older. But like much older men would sexualize you. in public, at church. It doesn't matter where you're at. They did it. And so that's already part of your environment. And then to like specifically walk up to the front of the church and like pledge your virginity to the Lord. Um,
Exactly.
Now, we were not so worldly as to have purity rings because no jewelry.
Oh, that was worldly. Yeah.
And no purity balls. We might have had a banquet, but you know.
I'm so sure. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it drove me nuts that they would
And
have.
it was between the father and the daughter.
Ours wasn't. Well,
The one that Focus on the Family put on in Indianapolis.
Oh yes, that
was the father-daughter purity ball.
Uh-huh.
And he was supposed to purchase a ring for her because they had a whole presentation of him giving her the ring. That is so disgusting.
Yeah.
I am like, ew. Why? Why do we think that is okay?
I do not know. Like they literally make it like your daughter is your wife or you're getting engaged. And they also very much make it so that, I mean, the overtone of all of that is that you're property.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, that's like the really big
ick. You cannot step out and date someone without my permission. It's taking
or get married.
It's basically telling that girl that she is not smart enough and she doesn't have the right discernment or enough discernment, and she will never be mature enough to make her own decision in a life partner. And that is it starts from birth, right? Any girl that's birthed into a family like that, it starts way back then, but then they just reiterate it when they just push that narrative whenever they get to that point where she starts to think about dating and she starts to think about all that. And then she has to be held back because she will never be good enough to make that decision, smart enough to make the decision for herself. Her dad has to do it for her. That is the stupidest bullshit thing that you can absolutely, I mean, just sending your daughter out in the world and basically letting her know that she doesn't have a clue how to run her life, how to make decisions in her life is, I mean, you're setting her up for failure if she feeds into that. And most of them do.
Well, what that actually is kind of describing, which I said earlier in this whole overview, it is the infantilization of girls while sexualizing them. Like that whole thing. It's like you're a child, you can't make decisions for yourself. It creates like a codependency enmeshment, and it really just keeps pushing them down, and doesn't allow them to ever become autonomous or independent, like in a way that they can think for themselves, make decisions for themselves. And if they do, there's a lot of fear around that and what will happen, if you step out and step up, as you and I both know very well. But it's like, it's constant. And this happens from infancy. Like the whole modesty message about how you present yourself doesn't start when you're like 12.
No.
It starts when you're a baby.
Absolutely.
And I know I went to church with people who made babies wear skirts because women should wear skirts. That had to wear, and because they were wearing skirts, they had to wear tights, like fully opaque tights, to cover their diapers so that they wouldn't be looked at sexually, which tells me that you were already looking at them sexually. Like that's already in your mind. And so like, it doesn't matter the age.
No.
They're caught like girls are sexualized from birth, and what they get protected from is not how men treat them or others treat them. What gets protected is their virginity.
Hmm.
And that, like, I mean, that hits home really hard for me because, like, for myself, um, like to see someone come out of the woodwork and protect me, that should be there far beyond that. Like, that was my experience of my dad. The only time he got vocal and involved was if my purity was at risk in his perception.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and there was just like a deep misunderstanding of what that even was. And like human sexuality, no education whatsoever.
Hmm.
Um, like we didn't learn about, like, we didn't have sexual education. We
Hmm.
had sexual misinformation, is what we got.
For sure.
So it wasn't ever about protecting ourself, our like ourself as a human. It was only about protecting our parts that men wanted.
Hmm.
Um, and so that gives you a really strong message of what's important.
Hmm.
And it's another one of those ones that creates such a cognitive dissonance of where, like, who you are, where do you find your value. um it's so confusing. um and like the older you get, depending on how you develop, which obviously we all develop differently. I
Right.
was an earlier one. I was tall at a younger age. Like, oh, I got looked at a lot by older men just
Hmm.
because of my height and
Yeah.
being more developed.
Yeah.
Um, like I got mistaken for my dad's wife on many occasions. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I remember when I was working. It was the first store I ever worked in. I was the only one out running the cash register and stuff, and it was like a China shop.
Hmm.
And some guy was in there shopping probably for his wife. Like, why else would a guy be in Lenox? You know,
Yeah.
like there's crystal and fine china and stemware and, like collectible gifts that are very expensive. Like everything's expensive.
Yeah.
Um, but like he was trying to get my number. And I just looked at him. I was like, I'm only 16. And he's like, oh. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, not interested. But
Oh my goodness, Sarah.
like, why else would, like, why is a guy coming on to me in there anyways? Like,
Exactly.
and he's clearly, he's buying something for
Yeah.
somebody. And I don't know, for me, like two and two, he has a partner of some sort.
Right. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, there's just so much where they tell you who you are, and you are, you're everything and nothing.
Yeah. Well, we're so much more than those parts is the problem.
Yeah.
It like you don't tell your kids because you're just like I remember just one of my biggest fears for my girls when I was there and they were just itty bitty and I shouldn't have even been thinking in that direction.
Hmm.
One of my biggest fears was that they would be taken advantage of if I dressed them a certain way or if I didn't cover them up enough
Hmm.
or and that was just from my history, I think. But
Hmm.
I like had fear about it. And so there
Yeah.
was no safety. I mean, even when I was just going to church, I was
Oh,
afraid that I
yeah.
was not going to dress them good enough. And I was always, when I would go shopping, I was always looking for something that covered them completely, and that usually involved layers, and they were usually always uncomfortable, you
Hmm.
know. So we don't have to speak it to them. It doesn't have to come out
No.
in words. Like my oldest daughter says that's like she just knew on a Sunday morning when she got up and got dressed, from about the time that she was probably 7 or 8 is the earliest she can remember thinking that she had to wear, if it was summer, a certain kind of shorts under her dress, or winter leggings
Mhm.
under her dress. Um, like she always had to sleeves below the elbows, make sure that she wore a neckline that was high enough. She was 7. I mean, just
Yeah.
not something that she should have been worrying about. She should have been able to just go to her closet and grab a t-shirt and whatever else she and just put it on, brush her hair and call it a day. She should not have
Yeah.
been worrying about like the neckline and the sleeve length but we're covering them up. And I mean, and even today, to get her to even wear a pair of shorts out of the house is impossible. She just,
Mm.
she still has that mentality that she has to stay covered. And that's fine. She doesn't want to wear shorts. She doesn't have to wear shorts. She looks
Yeah.
good in whatever she puts on. But I'm just like, it is still so like it's hard to get away from. So yeah, it
Right.
starts at infancy. We cover our girls. Never had
Yes.
issues about the boys. We cover our girls, and
Oh.
they have private parts just like girls do, but they are not, and they are sexual. They are victims of predators as well. Our boys
Oh
are.
yeah.
So I'm not saying
Absolutely.
that it's an impossibility. But it's just like the purity culture is centered around girls. It's just the way it is.
Well, it's centered around girls in the way that it makes them the sexual gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Like they somehow have all the control about how men are going to behave towards
Yeah.
them in that way, which is, and I mean, you talk about destabilizing, like that's a lot of power to give a little girl
Mhm.
and tell her that if something happens, well, it's because of what you put on today.
But Sarah, it's also not true.
Oh,
Um,
no, it
it is,
absolutely isn't true, but that is what they get told. That's what we
yeah,
were told. And that's what we have had to live with.
yeah. And I believe,
Because like, sorry, just
no, go
whenever those things would happen, no one is going after the male
ahead.
and saying what's going on and why do you think you're doing this? It's not okay. And calling the police, like if that's appropriate, which more often than not it was. Um, but no, they're sitting there going, well, what were you wearing?
Mhm.
What did you have on?
What did you do?
Yeah.
How were you acting? Were you were
Sorry.
you leading him on? I remember in the college that I went to, one of the colleges that I went to, there was a situation where it involved a 19-year-old male and a 15, I think, year old girl. And um, it was, he was kicked out, but she was allowed to stay. But it was, it was around, like he was in trouble. He didn't go to jail, should have, but he got in trouble, but he was sort of, I don't know, socially pardoned, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
because she was into it. Like she led him there and she seduced him and all of this stuff, like she wanted to. And so therefore it was
Children are not
her
capable
fault.
of that.
And that was the whole thing. He was an adult, grown. I know his brain wasn't completely fully developed yet, but it doesn't matter. The 18 years is the cutoff. And I don't know
How
if
old
he
was
just
she? 15?
15. I believe she was
Ah,
15.
no, sorry. That is the brain of a child. That is a
Yeah,
child.
I know that she was not driving yet. So I believe like 15 or 16, but she was in that age range. And it was,
Mm, mm,
I mean, it was tragic, but it was not her fault at
at all.
all. But that's the mindset. Like it's just like the I don't know. There's a lot more to that story that I could share, but I'm not going to. It was really sad because I didn't know it at the time, like as much as I know now.
Yeah.
Not about the story, but just about the injustice of a 19 and a 15-year-old. And but I know around campus it was all, well, it wasn't all his fault. It wasn't all his fault. It wasn't all his fault. When in reality it was all his fault. Like he should have never been messing around, even talking to a 15-year-old. He just
Yeah.
shouldn't have. So anyway, um, and I probably fed into it. I didn't have much to do with it, so I just stayed out of it for the most part. But I probably have the same opinion as everybody else that
Yeah.
he couldn't help himself. She's the one who led him on, that whole thing. But unless we get this narrative out of our heads, I mean, it just isn't true. Guys, men are not going to, they're always going to react the same regardless of what you wear. And it's true because there is so much pedophilia and there is so much rape, and all of this in that culture, in the
Yeah.
CHM culture that is being covered up. And even if it is like out there, the sentence is not as bad. They're protecting these old men and these young men because they are the Lord's anointed in some way,
Oh,
shape, or
yes.
form. I mean, it is the worst, most
Yes,
disgusting.
it is. Like, if if they're a pastor or on a pastoral program track or whatever in college, like, let me tell you, those boys get more passes because they're going to be a preacher, which
Yes.
is makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'm like, these are the guys you need to be weeding out. Like, these are the guys that you know possess no self-control. They do
Absolutely.
not possess any fruit of the spirit,
Hmm.
and should not be in places that place them in yet even more power, because like that's the whole point of rape. It's not about sex, it's about power.
Yeah.
And you're just going to be perpetuating a problem and creating more problems rather than weeding them out if something happens and just cutting off their ability to attend your school.
Yeah.
And actually, they do need to be reported to the appropriate authorities, um, because they're adults.
Right.
If they're doing stuff that is against the law, it needs to be reported, and the local authorities need to be taking care of it, not your local Bible college disciplinary committee.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
that's not their jurisdiction anymore.
Right.
And that like happens on a pretty regular basis.
Hmm.
Um, or it just gets bypassed, and the higher ups decide what they're going to do and not do, who they're
Hmm.
going to let back and not let back.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the women always pay the price,
Oh,
the
yeah.
heavier, much heavier price. Um, it's pretty discouraging I mean, it's something that like you and I both have a lot of experience with in Bible college is
Mhm,
the misuse of authority,
mhm,
the harassment by authority,
mhm.
the lack of addressing sexual harassment by authority.
Yeah.
Um, just there's so many things, and then I know I've mentioned it here and there, but like I hear of stories of things that have happened well after I was gone
Oh, yeah.
that just they break my heart. They make me angry,
Yeah.
so angry.
Mhm.
And I did bring one particular situation up to someone I knew who was still there, who has some power to do something about it, and it was just a complete, oh, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know it happened. I don't know how you're this ignorant of something this big happening because you are not in a position that is like you're in a position that absolutely should be aware of this happening. Like
Right.
it doesn't
Yeah.
um uh, claimed not to know. And I just have a really hard time believing that just because of the absolute insanity of the entire story. It uh, like I don't even have words for this one. Like,
Yeah. And
mm,
that I feel like that they lied about it to save the whole situation. And that's another thing is that lies are okay if done by a certain person. It just
protects the institution.
to protect certain things. Yeah. But then honesty is the best policy when it it's just so dumb, Sarah. It's so dumb.
It really is.
Like I feel like that we could do a whole series on why people feel like that they have to lie. Because that is a protective impulse. Like that's anyway, let's not get started on that. But lying is not a sin.
Right.
But at the same time, they say it is a sin, yet they lie about these kinds of things. It's just like the preacher that was put in jail for pedophilia. He was called on by the victim who had gotten to be like 16 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
he had messed with her when she was 3 and 4 in his church,
Yeah.
and she knew it. So when she got older, against her parents' wishes, she went and uh, called the cops on him. They picked him up, and that afternoon, his wife bailed him out. And there is a picture. It's um, like a post. I don't know where it was, what platform it was on, but it was like a news front, like a paper, like the news,
Mm-hmm.
of him walking out to his car, and he's like side eyeing the camera and kind of smirking, like at the camera. And I was like, if that is not the face of evil right there, I don't know what is. Like he knew what he had
Yep.
done. His wife probably knew. She had a skirt on and a bun in her hair and no makeup and no jewelry and all of this crap. Not that she needed to. It's just, that message that I hate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um and she's bailing him out, and no doubt they have children at home. And she knew that he had done it, no doubt.
Yeah.
Um, I seriously doubt the wool was pulled over her eyes on that one. She's bailing him out. And last I checked, he still had not been convicted because it was this 16-year-old's word against his. And he probably had everyone in that church, and it was a big church. He had probably had a lot of like the board members and stuff testifying for him.
Oh, I'm sure he's such a great fellow. He's such a man of God, such a helpful person, just a pillar of the community.
A
Yada
pillar
yada
of the
yada.
community.
Oh, he's a pillar of the community.
Oh my word.
I
I
mean,
hate
that's
it.
the kind of bullshit that these people, because they refuse to look deeper than the surface. Because if
Yeah.
they did, I think they know that it would come up shitty
Yeah.
because they're shitty.
Stuff like that is just pretty rampant, unfortunately.
It is. But ultimately, when it comes to the end of the day with all of this, you know, we got threatened if we didn't follow these rules. Um, with like the worst case scenarios that would happen, in general in our life. Like if we chose to do this, even one time, like that was just like setting our lives up for like the ultimate failure. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
grow up and you're not gonna have a stable home. You're gonna have a broken home. Your kids are just gonna be like lost and
The broken home.
worldly, and they're gonna end up in jail and all this kind of stuff over like having sex or participating in like intimacy in any way, shape, or form before you're married. Like it's some sort of curse
Yeah.
if you engage before marriage. Again, zero understanding of like human sexuality at all.
Yeah.
It's like mind-boggling to me, like because I'm still learning just
Mhm.
now what
Mhm.
all that involves and entails and what a healthy sexuality looks like.
Yeah.
And let me just say, it's really screwed me up, like
Oh,
not
for
having
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Like it has massively impacted my life,
Yeah.
massively. And then so you have all these like, well, if you do if you do the spell, you'll have your protection shield. But if you don't do the spell, then you're just gonna be you know dragon fodder, like everyone's gonna
Well,
get you.
and isn't it interesting when I took my kids out of the private school
Uh-huh.
section, that the one thing that and started looking into public school, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
one thing that family, friends, their dad was concerned about was that they were going to actually be taught sexual education
Mm-hmm.
when that never should have been taken out.
Yeah.
Sexual education is exactly that, education. We
Yeah.
have to be educated on this. Our children have to be educated on this in order to protect themselves. Just a good understanding of it. It's part of who we are.
Basic biology.
It is basic biology. Why? I never was offered a sexual education class and desperately needed it. And every
Uh-huh.
human being needs it. It
Yes.
really helps with your understanding and with your identity and with like there's so many different things. Anyway,
Well,
I just think
even
that's
just
so interesting. Like that's the one thing that they were so
I agree. I got that. I got that from a lovely person.
oh, I'm
Um,
sure you did.
but like, so like sex ed, like the basics, like even knowing the names of all your parts. Like I thought I knew, but then like I actually started reading some books like that were like education,
Yeah.
like especially for females. And I'm
Mhm.
like reading terms that I don't know what they are. Like I don't even know what part of my body this is. And I'm like
Yeah.
having to Google basic anatomy terms.
Oh,
And I'm
I
like,
learned more about my
what
body
is
in my
this?
40s than I
Yes,
ever have my whole entire
yes.
life.
Like I was so clueless.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
still learning. And there was so much shame wrapped up in even any sort of sexual knowledge.
Right.
Like, and I do mean any, from like just the basic anatomy. Like these people don't even say, like, they don't even teach their toddlers or whoever the actual words for their parts.
Yeah.
Like, and to get them to say like vagina and penis was like, you know,
Yeah.
like they make up other words for it. And there's so many times where because they couldn't even say the name and the only name their child knew was this made up word that they would be trying to tell somebody, hey, somebody messed with my whatever cookie. And the
Yeah.
teacher's just like, okay, someone messed with the cookie.
Yeah.
Until it became apparent that the cookie was not an actual cookie.
Right.
So it's like, it's such a disservice, even
Mhm.
for toddlers, to not even like know their names.
The names, the
Just
scientific
names.
name of everything. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, so if you can't, like, if you are so uncomfortable that you can't even teach your children like basic anatomy and not feel shame around that, because I'm sorry, especially as babies and toddlers, I mean, you can have so many things down there that need help. Like if you're a little girl and you have an infection and it
Exactly.
hurts, or like,
Exactly.
I mean, like any sort of like just a medical thing that could be easily fixed, but they can't tell you because they don't know how.
Right.
Oh, honey, my pee pee hurts. Well, what part? You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like just like that was one thing that I have done so far. I've tried really hard to do is like when we talk about anything like this, is for me to show zero signs of being embarrassed.
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, well, because it is what it is, and we all have this.
And who would they go
And
to? Like they
yeah,
need to be able to go to someone.
like they need to feel
Because they
safe in
know.
this conversation. And if you're feeling
Right.
uncomfortable, yes, we can stop now because, you know, it does get awkward because that's new to them. But we always come back to it. Like it's never off topic. And let me tell you, like, I'm glad that I did.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, because it's really helped them. And also just like being comfortable. And I don't care if you have to fake you're being comfortable talking
Exactly.
about topics that make you want to run
Right.
internally. If you don't
Do
do
it
it,
anyway.
they are never, ever going to tell you anything that's going on.
Yeah. Or
And
if
like,
you laugh at them for any reason,
yeah, you
that's
can't make
about
it
something
awkward or
serious.
embarrassing.
And I feel like that is just a standard rule if you chose to have children. But
Mm-hmm.
that is what you owe them. That you owe them
Yes.
that safety and that safety net to come to you about anything
Yes.
because you don't want them to go out in the world and figure it out. I mean, that is like the
No.
last thing that you want them to do. And I do believe that sex education starts in the home. Absolutely.
Oh,
It
for
needs
sure.
it needs to be healthy in the home. Like it's not a corrupt thing that needs to start in the home.
It actually kind of goes back to the question that you had earlier is like, why do we feel like we have to lie? And it's because these are systems, like purity culture is a system, like fundamentalism, hyper fundamentalism, evangelicalism, feels like it's all the isms. um, but these types of communities are based on fear, and when you are afraid, and that is like your mindset is completely based around fear, then telling the truth oftentimes does not feel safe, and you have to lie to remain safe, because telling the truth is would get you punished.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that I think is why a lot of the people struggle with being honest and truthful in these systems. It's not that they don't want to be, because it's, you know, they say so much how much, you know, honesty is the best policy and we should never ever lie. No, no white lies, no tiny little lies. Um, but they don't create an environment where telling the truth is valued.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
So, and it is the same when it comes to like sex education and purity culture. I mean, this is one of the biggest systems of fear, I think, within that system, because they are, I feel like 90% of the system has to do with controlling sexuality.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Yeah, it
they're
is
very
so
sex obsessed.
it is obsessive. Yes, they are obsessed with the control of young people and their sexuality. Absolutely. It's like, and especially when it comes to like homosexuality and like they're so afraid of it, Sarah. I think that is like probably the biggest thing there is that they're afraid of things that they don't know anything about. And you think about it, like these older people, all these older people, like that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, haven't had sex education either. So it scares them because they don't know anything about it. They haven't educated themselves on it. It's not the only reason that they're like that. But
No.
I mean, they definitely, but that's one of them. I know that was me. Being a woman and where my kids were concerned, all I had was my own history to go off of. And it scared the crap out of me because I did not understand sexuality. And I don't, like I said, from over the past 2 years, I've learned more about my body than I ever have in my whole life.
Yeah.
I should have known some of these terms before I was even 16. Like that is
probably should have known them by the time you were 10 or earlier.
Well, when I started my period, for sure, I should have known a lot of this stuff. It would have made so much sense, if I would have just been educated on it.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yes, like knowledge is power.
It is.
Oh my goodness. I had something I was going to say and I kind of flew out my brain, but
shoot. Sorry.
It's okay. It happens all the time. But like also, I mean, kind of to wrap it up for today, like ultimately the people who benefited from these rules, it was the men, it was the institutions.
Always.
Like it was never the women and children, ever.
No.
Like at least if you're a guy or a boy, you can like grow up and become part of the part that's in control, and you have a little more say over yourself. But it's such an entitlement and a power grab over women and children's bodies.
Yep.
And like those are the only people it benefits. And ironically, it doesn't even truly benefit them in the long term. It's all just in the very here and now. Like it's that gratification that only lasts, like it's very small.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to think of the right word. It's not worth it. And it doesn't, it's not fulfilling to anybody. If anything, it makes everyone stress out more, and it makes the evil ones even more evil. And it's grotesque at its core.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the system that we were meant to thrive on. Like humanity was not meant to work this way.
Right.
And yet here we are.
But we're healing from.
Well, we are healing from it, and it is quite the
and quite the journey.
Sure. Yeah. But anyways, that is kind of setting us up for our next series as we move into next week. Next week, we'll be talking about what it taught us about specifically our bodies. So thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
So anyways, thanks again, everyone, for listening. We hope you join us again next week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We love you guys.
Bye.
Bye. You've been listening on the Party Line to I'm on the Phone podcast with Sarah and Christy. Join us again next week for more stories about our pre, post, and mid-culture life. Thanks for listening.